Hi there, this is Paige, who is Stamp Girl here on YouTube, and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm sharing with you the cards I made for the 10 on the 10th. Each month we make 10 Christmas cards, about that number, and share them with you here on YouTube. This is a collab hosted by Kim, who is Metal Scrappin' Chick here on YouTube. And down below will be a link to all of the channels of the participants in this collaboration. So for this month, I pulled out some Stampin' Up! Products. I used this specialty paper from Stampin' Up! Called Brightly Gleaming. I've been hoarding this since I purchased it, so I thought it was time to use it. I used this stamp set, Christmas Gleaming. I believe I used this and this stamp and maybe this one, and then I used some various other stamps for sentiments. Part of the suite was these star designer elements, so I finished off one package of these and started in on a second. And then these were some other things I was hoarding, and I decided to use up all of the stars. And this was another product from Stampin' Up! That was in the suite for this set right here. So let me share with you the cards that I made. I got my ideas off Pinterest. I know some came from Mary Fish, who's a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and some came from Lisa, I think you would say her last name, Curcio. She inspired some cards as well. So I made 5 different designs, 2 of each. So here's my first card. Here's the designer paper and one of those foil stars. This is from the stamp set, as is this. I used inks, Stampin' Up! Inks for this, and I just used my water brush to color these in, and then I went over the whole thing with Winkostella. This was a nested die from Stampin' Up! And then this was, this paper was already embossed with this design, and I believe that paper was from DCWV. This is popped up, and there's a little star there, and I did curl the tips of the holly leaves, but they've kind of flattened out now in the envelope they're stored in. And then the inside is simply a scrap of paper. So I've got those 2. I've got these 2. Here is another of those nested dies. I cut 2 different sizes and layered them and popped them up with craft foam. Here's one of those foil stars. Here is some of the copper trim from Stampin' Up! I love this stuff. It's narrow, but you can pull it apart to make it look like netting. And I think it's on the last chance section of the website. I did buy another roll because I love it so much. This sentiment was stamped directly onto the label, and then I accented with some stars. And then I used some black and a scrap of the DCWV foil paper. Here is my next card. I used some star dies from Stampin' Up! I can't remember what the set is called. I just die cut a couple sizes in different colors, popped them up with dimensionals. So the blue one is popped up, the ivory one is popped up, and then I added a copper star at the top. This is some ribbon from Stampin' Up! Did I show this? Very pretty. It's what is it called? Classic weave ribbon, and then it's printed with Merry Christmas in 2 different fonts. And then accented with some of those stars, and then here is the inside with a scrap of the designer paper. For these cards, I used a star border punch that Stampin' Up! Used to sell. So I punched this white layer. I added a strip of gold or copper behind it. I popped this whole layer up with craft foam, added a copper star and a little scrap of the designer paper. Merry Christmas was stamped and then fussy cut out, and another little star embellishment there. And whoops, the inside of this one doesn't have anything. I'll have to add a scrap of that paper on the inside. And then this is my last card. So 2 pieces of designer paper. I used the stars dies to cut out that star. I popped it up with dimensionals, added a copper star over that. I die cut a circle from the DCWV foil paper and then a stitch circle, and then the sentiment says, "Remembering you this season with warm thoughts and a wish for everything merry." And then just accented with a couple of the little metal stars there, and a scrap on the inside over on the left side. So those are my 10 cards for 10 on the 10th. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and now I'm off to create.